Hello, this is Gifty Apia, and I will be discussing the definition and purpose of performance based assessments, also known as performance assessments. Um, I will also talk about the assessments, um, including interviews, contracts, directed assignments, games, work samples, projects, and portfolios. The other thing that I will talk about is the advantages of performance-based assessments. Performance-based assessment is the strategies used to conduct assessments that permits teachers to measure a child's performance. Traditional methods of measuring learning has focused on assessing what the child knows. So basically, what this is about is um, observing the child of what they are capable of doing. Performance assessments require more in the measure what the child can do or apply what they have learned, in addition to what the child knows. So um, you can assess them based on their past experiences, and then based on that, you can know that this is the limit that the child knows um, by performing the activities or materials that you can give to them for them to manipulate it. Performance assessment is a summative assessment tool that is used as a substitute for high stakes testing. The assessment itself can be an individual or as a group project. So basically, sometimes during small groups, you can have 3 to 5 children at a table, or like depending on what you're doing, you can have 2 to 3 children to have access to the materials, and then you can assess them individually or you can assess them as a group based on the outcome of what they will do. One or more pieces of the child's work can portray what they know, or the teacher can know based on what they did. It can be an open-ended questions for the child to respond. It can be just watching them how they do it. One of the examples that I can give is showing children with fine motor skills. You can give a child age appropriate scissors for them to cut a piece of paper, a piece of fabric, and the way that they can handle the scissors and cut it can tell the teacher that they can use it appropriately or they cannot do that. The creation process of the work is then graded according to a set of pre-agreed criteria or a checklist shared with the student in advance. So depending on what tool you're using, there are different tools, but depending on what tools you're using, you can either check it that they were able to perform it, or record that they were not able to do that. So it depends on what tool the teacher uses to assess the child. The performance assessment is the way teachers can witness how well a student can be assessed to measure their performance. So the teacher cannot just say, oh, this child can do this without giving them any tasks to perform, but there has to be a task for the child to perform so that the teacher or the adults can also record what they saw. I am in the 3-year-old classroom, and as part of our assessment, the tools that we use ASQs, and then part of it is to give them, like with their fine motor skills, We have to give them crayons and paper for them to use. And there are different types of gripping when children come into our program. So we have to assess them within the first 45 days with us. We have to assess them and see if they're using the proper grip on the crayon to write or scribble, or they're using. Some of our friends have never been in a school environment or any learning environment. They just come straight from the house with moms and dads or grandparents taking care of them. So they haven't had any experience or any formal guidance that will help them to hold a crayon or a pencil or any writing tool. So based on how they hold the crayon can give us an idea of their past experiences. Some are really good, they can just hold it 3-point right away, or some hold it from the back like this, and some hold it like on the top or at the bottom. So depending on how the child will hold the crayon will give us an idea of how well their fine motor skills are. And that will also support us, help us to plan to reach their goals when we are planning lessons. The purpose for performance-based assessment with young children is to measure them appropriately while evaluating the progress of the child's development. So teachers or educators don't just do it for fun, but there's a notion behind it. There's a reason why we do that, so that we can help the children to better progress in their academics, so that they can be successful as they get older or go through school. There are some types of performance assessment that can be used. It can be contracts, it can be directed assignments, it can be games, it can be work samples, it can be projects and portfolios. All these are ways teachers can use to assess children on how they can perform certain tasks. Some of the examples of work samples are like painting. Sometimes some teachers use that to see how they can articulate or use art to express themselves. A child may go to the easel and then they can start drawing or using a paint or paintbrush to make something on it. And when you ask them, they can tell you what it is on the paper. So these are examples how we can tell that the child is learning something, or based on their past experiences, they can share what they can do on through acts. And then like group projects is a good way also to assess children. Some kids are followers, some are leaders, some are observers, but when you work in a group, it helps for you to know the level each student is. Some will just be there to support the other students. Some will be directing or ask through communication. This is a good way to assess language skills by discussing what they need or with the materials. That will also help the teacher to know that this is where the child is. Portfolios are also a good way to assess children. When students come in, normally we will give them plain sheets or drawing or writing materials for them to make a self-portrait. Some of the 3-year-olds, they can do like a round circle for the head. Some will put on eyes, ears. So it means that they have an idea who like a personal figure should be, but others will just scribble without any like features of the human body. So this also helps with children's experiences and what their past knowledge is, so that maybe in the middle of the year we can also assess them and see from the beginning to maybe the middle of the school year what they have learned. And most of the time you can see that they have really progressed from when they really started coming to the program and the middle of the school year. Games, manipulative games are a good way to also assess children, like puzzles or like table games. This is another way for them to articulate what they have learned and what they are capable of doing. So these are some of the type of assessments that teachers can use for performance assessments. There are a lot of advantages that goes with performance assessments, and some of the advantages are it is conducted in the context of what children are experiencing. Most of the time, when children are assessed with a like mass production of assessments, they are not based on what the child knows. It's not about the individual, but with performance based assessments, you can really know exactly what the child is capable of doing, because it's around them, the environment that they are in, it's more convenient and easy for them to perform those tasks. Children use their own understanding to perform assessments. So it's not like you are imposing something on the child, but they are in their comfort zone. Their capabilities are what children use to do the assessments. So I hope this helps, and thank you very much.